Cheers everybody, I hope you're all having a great Christmas holiday so far. Now, as 2019 is about to draw to a close, I figured this would be a great chance to look back at the games of the year and just to see which ones were the best. So, while you're all nursing that hangover, why don't you watch this video and see what happened in 2019. So, we had the Endgame war finish. We had Death Stranding finally come out, and we finally got to see what that game was all about. Shenmue 3 somehow got released and came out, and I'm yet to play it. The new generation of consoles were announced. Google Stadia also released, but the less said about that, the better. Shit. So, the PS4 in general, I think, had an awesome 2019, because there was a lot of really good brand new games, as well as existing IPs. But which game makes it to be my number one game of 2019? So, number 5 on my list, weirdly, is an EA game, but even weirder, it's an actual single-player Star Wars game. Now, if you told me this at the start of the year, I would not have believed you, because why the fuck would EA think about doing a single-player game? They're all about microtransactions and multiplayer and season passes and battle passes and all that bollocks. Yet, somehow, they released a story-driven single-player game with no multiplayer bolted on. And you know what? It's brilliant. It's what every Star Wars fan wanted. This game is just awesome. It's a cool sort of mixture of like Uncharted and like a From Software game like Sekiro or Bloodborne or a Demon Souls in the combat. The way you sort of move and the way you can parry attacks with the lightsaber. It feels really good. You feel like a Jedi. You feel powerful and you feel nimble. I think it's really cool. I got this game for Christmas, so I'm still sort of playing it now, but it's got a really good impression on me, and I'm still sort of blasting through trying to get the platinum. But you can wield different sort of lightsabers. You can have the twin blade Darth Maul style one or a single one, and you can change the colours and things like that. It's really good. The Uncharted sort of platforming's a bit iffy, but on the whole it is a really well made game, and I am really chuffed that EA actually bit the bullet and did a single player game for once, because it's brilliant. So number 4 on my list is the return of an old favourite, CTR Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, the PS4 remaster that came out earlier on in the year. Now this year there was at least 3 kart racing games that I played. There was the terrible Meow Motors, there was the okay, slightly disappointing Team Sonic Racing, and then there was the fucking brilliant Crash Team Racing. This game was so cool. It felt a lot like the original, which I was a bit worried about. I didn't think they would be able to pull it off, but it works. It's so good. The racing is just top notch, and for me, Crash Team Racing has always been, for my money, the best kart racer out there, closely followed by Mario Kart on the DS. For me, those two are the best, and this one sits proudly at the top with them. There are a few negatives about this game that I don't quite like, and this is a bit of a strange one for most people, but I dislike the fact that the Nitro Kart tracks are in this, because I feel like they should have just been left to one side. To be in a Nitro Kart remaster, they shouldn't have been in this one, especially when you have to do all the fucking time trials on those tracks as well, because I never had that game, so I don't know those tracks. But it does make the package a bit bigger, and I understand why they did it, but I would have just liked those separate, or at least had the adventure mode for that as a DLC or something. But this game is great. The racing is just buttery smooth. It looks really good. Another issue I do have, though, is the whole microtransactions. Now, they weren't there at the beginning, but you did have the shop, and you just earned coins as you played. But then they later sort of added money in, and that you could buy things. And I don't particularly like the whole customization aspect of it. It doesn't really need to be there, but as it's a modern game, they kind of just force it on them all the time now. So it's just one of those negative aspects of modern gaming, really, that have seeped into this otherwise brilliant classic. You can still do all the usual tricks. Drifting is still a really cool mechanic, the way you use the two shoulder buttons and you sort of hold one and tap the other to boost out. They improve things like the HUD. You can see the menu there, the meter there fill up, so it's easier to look at. You also have the glow on your tyres, so that helps you do boosts better. There were a few other improvements as well. The adventure mode was still bullshit towards the end with nitrous oxide. He was still a pain in the ass. And the whole time trials are really, really annoying. So unfortunately I didn't get the platinum in this, but I have had an absolute blast. Online as well. Adding online to this works really well. It's never really laggy or choppy. It's buttery smooth for the most part, and it's really fun. It makes me realise that I actually suck at crash team racing, because there are a lot of people out there a lot better than me. But I've definitely improved. I can boost around the whole track now and things like that, but I'm nowhere near a pro. But it's fun. It's fun in a single player, it's fun in multiplayer. You have local co-op as well, which is also just excellent. Yeah, it's a great game, and it's definitely worthy of the number 4 spot. Number 3 goes to The Division 2, which was a game going into 2019 that just wasn't even on my radar, because I didn't like the original Division. I went to the Eurogamer Expo in the UK, and I queued for about 3 hours to play the first Division, and I was lumbered with a crappy shotgun class soldier, and it left a really bitter taste in my mouth. I just did not enjoy my 20-minute play session on it. It just wasn't worth queuing up for that amount of time, and it meant that I just never bothered with the first game. I didn't like the whole bullet sponge enemies with a health bar slowly draining down even though you're hitting them in the head with a big rifle. It just didn't appeal to me. But my friends played it and they loved it, and they convinced me to take a chance on Division 2 and play it with them. And you know what? I really got into it. I was on this every day for multiple hours for about the first month and a half. I blitzed it. I did everything I could to get that platinum as quick as possible, and I played it through with a friend. We leveled up, and we went through the whole campaign together, and it was a blast. It's really cool. I like the whole cover shooter mechanics to it, and the way the enemies are relentless. It's a shame they have the health bars still. I would like it to be more of a normal shooter, really, but it is great. You can get into some really intense firefights in this game, and there is a lot to do, and they have continued to add more to it since the game came out. There's been free updates and new things going on, and new stuff in the Dark Zone and things like that, which admittedly I haven't actually gone back to since getting that platinum. I binged it too much and just I had my fill of it, kind of thing, and I haven't had the need or the urge to sort of go back and do all these new bits. So that's why it only gets to the 3rd place on my list of the best games of 2019 for PS4, because it's not one that's made me go back. While I was playing it, I really enjoyed it. There are a few niggles I didn't like. Sometimes the enemies are just absolute bullshit. It's like they roll a dice, and if they want to kill you, they will fucking kill you, even if you're running away. Sometimes they can just seemingly get off really impossible shots, and it just gets really frustrating sometimes, especially when your team wipes out and then you have to start over again, or you haven't got enough ammo and you're just fucked, really. Hard mode as well was a bit bullshit, and when going for the platinum, I did not like that whole deck of cards thing that you had to do, randomly getting those people to spawn and try and kill them, because it was just fucking annoying. There were so many cards to collect. I pretty much got all of the sets before I got a complete set. I probably had 52 cards in a deck, so I probably had 49 before I got them all in one set. So that was really annoying. Sadly, the game was quite glitchy in the form of visual audio bugs, as well as some glitch trophies like the answering the call and healing the stranger, which just never popped. However, it did lead to some funny moments like this, so it wasn't all bad.
Hello. 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 Boom!
It's like...
There's no ball in his
It's
ass.
like... It's a fucking stickhead. Number 2 on my list is Resident Evil 2's remake on the PS4 that released very early on in the year, and it's a game that I still feel isn't quite as good as the original PS1 game. However, it is still an awesome game in its own right. If you don't judge it strictly comparing it to the original, it is still a great game, even though it's missing a lot of the puzzles and the slower pacedness of that game. It's more of a Resi 4 sort of action-y orientated one. However, there are still puzzles in the game, don't get me wrong, but it's not as puzzle heavy in my opinion, and they're a lot easier than what they were in the original. But the game is brilliant. It looks fantastic, though there is a weird when I was playing it, there was a weird visual bug with certain floors and ceilings that you would just have this like pixelated black like mole sort of effect growing on the screen, which didn't quite look right. But other than that, the game looked fantastic. The gore especially was brilliant, especially when you would shoot off zombies' legs or arms or the head with like the shotgun or even the pistol. The damage that you would do to the flesh was a really impressive sort of feature of the game, and it really helped make it that more violent and gory and uncomfortable. Yeah, the game was fantastic, and I platinumed this, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It meant that I had to play it through multiple times, but it was a blast every time. Sadly, they didn't really do much with the other scenarios because the tyrant was in all of them, so it didn't really feel that much different. It was mainly just where you started and some of the items, but it was still fun to play through each of the characters' 2 scenarios, and then doing all the extra bits like the wave game that you had in the garage at the start with the sheriff, and then those mercenary type modes that he had. So there was a lot of content there to play through, and there was also some free costumes they added later on, like the PS1 versions of Leon and Claire. Story wise, I don't think they met up as much as they should. Claire seemed to fancy Leon as well, which is a bit unearned. And they only really interacted twice, once at the start and then at the end. Whereas in the original, I'm sure they crossed paths more. You never saw her in the police station's stars room, for instance. Like they definitely met up in the original there. There was also bits like the street bit at the start. Now, I know a lot of people say this, but it did annoy me. I was really looking forward to that first bit. In the original game, there's a linear bit for about 10-20 minutes where you walk through the streets of Raccoon City to get to the police station, whereas here you literally turn around, go down an alleyway, and then you're at the police station within a minute or two, and that was really disappointing. Admittedly, they do take you out of the police station later on to go to some of those areas, but by that point I didn't feel like it fit as well. I really liked that starting intro. That was a good way to get used to the game, and it was a shame they messed all that up. But on the whole, it was great. The Sherry bits were a lot better, with the police chief? I can't remember now. The police chief chasing you. Those bits were really cool. The Ada section was nice, and the Claire and Leon's gameplay was tight. It was really well done. I wanted this originally to be in first person because I really enjoyed Resident Evil 7. However, the third person view was still a great experience to play through, and I am really looking forward to Resident Evil 3, which is coming out next year, which is brilliant. So yeah, Resident Evil 2 is my number 2 choice for Game of the Year. For me, Days Gone on PS4 is easily, hands down, my favourite PS4 game of 2019 because I had such a great time playing this game. Now, admittedly, this is not as well polished of a AAA title that we would usually see from Sony and PlayStation in general. However, it is still a superbly well-made, fun, cool, interesting, gripping game that really captured my imagination, mainly thanks to the game's story and its actors. The game takes place in a sort of zombie apocalypse after a breakout has occurred, and it's basically the people who are left behind surviving. But it's at its core, it is a love story between Deacon and St. John, this sort of biker outlaw bounty hunter now kind of guy, and his wife, who he split up with during the outbreak. Now, he let her go on a helicopter and she flew away to safety, and then he thought it crashed and she died. And it's a story between them two, so as you're playing the game, you will flash back to the past to see more of Deacon's relationship with his wife and how they met, their first date, their first kiss, when he proposed to her, the wedding, and so on. You see all of it. You see this whole relationship play out. And I don't really want to say too much more because I don't really want to spoil it for people, but it works really well and there's a great payoff towards the end. And as well as that storyline, you've also got other interweaving stories about the world that they live in now, the virus outbreak, what happened, what caused it, and then you've got the stories of the survivors, who they are, all these little camps, the factions going on, and the sort of war with the freaker cultist crew and the normal sort of people, all sort of fighting against each other, and Deacon's story with his biker friend, who is his sort of partner as a bounty hunter, and them two going through their sort of story. So there's a lot going on, and it's really well done, really well acted, and it made me want to carry on playing it. I would sit on this for hours and hours, deep into the night, and I would still want to play more because I'd want to see what happens next. I would come to another point and I'd be like, I could stop here, but then I'd trigger a cutscene and it'd be like, I need to see what happens now, or I'll get a mission that looks good and I want to do that as well. And it just carried on, and I went on, and it's a long game. There is a lot here. I think, upwards of like 30 hours. There's plenty of content, and they've added more to it since then as well. They've really supported this game well, and they've tried their best to fix a lot of the bugs. So there's a lot of support. There's a lot of reason to play. There's a new game plus now. There's these sort of wave survival sort of shooting gallery things you can do. You can play as other characters as well. So there's a lot of content there for your buck. This will keep you playing for a long time. The gameplay is really cool. Now, obviously, it's going to have comparisons to The Last of Us, and there is a few missions where they're quite similar, I must say. And the fighting as well, it's kind of that same sort of cover-based shooter, but you don't snap to cover, you sort of just crouch walk to cover, and you can pop out and shoot. But this one also has like a slow-mo sort of focus where you can slow down time to aim a bit better. It also has melee combat, and it's all really well done. You can build traps and things like that. You can throw cocktails, you can throw little devices that will make noise to distract the zombies. So there's a lot of things you can do, a lot of ways you can approach things, which makes it quite fun, especially considering it's an open world. You would expect that sort of thing. And to get around the open world, you ride a bike, and the bike is like a character in itself. You have to refuel it, you have to repair it. So it kind of plays a bit like an Uncharted game would play, is in it would be a best of a load of other games features wrapped into one. This game is sort of Mad Max for the bike and the way you would look after it, same as the car in that game. I would say Batman Arkham for the sort of melee combat, kind of, though it's not a 360 thing. I would say Last of Us for the gunplay. And there's a load of other games that it sort of takes things from, but those are probably the main three for me. And it's just so much fun. It did get a lot of negative press because it was a bit glitchy, and people, I don't know why people just didn't like it as much as me, because I think it's, not only is it my game of the year, I think it's one of the, it's in the top 10 of the PS4 games of all time for me. This was a really cool game. I loved it. Despite some of its flaws, some of the side missions are a bit ropey. The ones where you have to chase people on your bike, they don't work as well. The late half of the game, there's certain things there that aren't as good, but it's so much fun. I haven't really talked about the freakers in it, so they're the sort of zombies. They're really cool characters. You got different types. There's big ones that are heavy hitters. There's ones that will run at you. There's a screamer that will alert more to you. There's runners that go really fast. There's all sorts of ones that you fight, and they have a sort of cycle to them. So in the day there will be less of them around because they'll be hibernating. So at night time they all come out, and that plays into the game as well. You can go into a cave at night and maybe clear out a den of them, and they're all in there. Then no one's in there, or you could do it at daytime when they're all in there and you can burn them all out, and it works really well. There's a nice sort of system going on there. It's just really cool. The environment's great as well, and there is a great use of music as well. There's a few scenes where you're just riding your bike and songs will play. There's a Lewis Capaldi song in there that's really good, Days Gone Quiet, and they use them at the perfect moments, and it's a wonderful game, and I wish more people would take a chance on this, because I don't think you'll be disappointed, because it's really fun. It's such a brilliant game, and I can't wait for the sequel. So yeah, Days Gone is my PS4 Game of the Year 2019. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you a happy new year, and I will see you next time. Cheers.